Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the Politics Joe podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Ow!
Oh, Ed Campbell.
Ow!
It's a full moon, baby.
I did think it would be funny if the three of us began the podcast by doing what Elon did, but then I decided that we couldn't have that filmed. There's a reason why we wouldn't do that.
I mean, yeah. Too much.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about that time that he launched an innovative rocket into space? Or
No, I'm talking about when he CK'd last night.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
oh, that.
I see. The thing is, I think we only do thinly veiled anti-Semitism on this podcast. I don't think we'd be able to go full send with the Nazi salute. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
Our many haters and detractors would have a field day. They'd have a field day with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even do it as a joke.
No.
I don't really know if it can ever be a joke, to be honest.
And we're straight into the discourse.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The way you moved your arm there, I was like, Ollie, no. Not the joke, pinning you down.
Flinch.
Do you remember when that footballer did it? I can't remember his name. I have a name, but I don't know if it's the right one. But there was a footballer, like a lower league footballer, who was pictured at the back of a Christmas party doing a Nazi salute, and he had to plead that he didn't know what World War II was. That was his defence.
Nice.
He was just saying hello to somebody.
See, I think that's very different with Elon.
Oh, yeah.
I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yes.
Exactly what he's doing. It's so deliberate,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's so, and it's almost the transmutation of his online shitposting. It's like edgelording in the real in the real world, where it's like, I'm going to very briefly throw up a Nazi salute, and the libs will lose their minds over it. And I know, all in all, it's just a bit of fun. It's just a bit of banter, and I've triggered them, haven't I? I've triggered them so badly. Ha 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 ha. Nazi saluting to own the libs.
Where do you think this leads? What other Nazi shit do you think he's going to do as a joke?
Let's roll back a little bit, because I think the question on, like, at the moment that people are still asking is, did he or did he not mean to do it?
100%
yeah.
he meant to do
Okay,
it.
but my point is, I actually don't think it matters whether he did or didn't mean to do it.
Mm.
Like, I mean, I also think it's one of those things you can do with some plausible deniability, right? Where you can, the sort of people that you want to enrage will be enraged by that. The people who are already on your side will defend you to the hilt and will claim that you didn't do it. So you've basically you've won in both senses.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think Elon Musk is a neo-Nazi? No.
No.
Do I think he courts / has moved to the hard right of politics? Yes. But I think this is symptomatic of, like, it's a symbol of how politics is changing / has already changed in America, which is that the Republicans specifically, and maybe it's actually more Trump than the Republicans, understand the power of attention, be it on social media, be it in the media, as in broadcast or print, which is that Elon Musk, as the richest man in the world, the owner of a social media platform, possibly one of the most powerful people in the world, he doesn't care if the New York Times accuses him of doing a Nazi salute. He doesn't care if we're sat here being like, you've done a Nazi salute. He understands that in the attention economy, him doing that gives him at least a day, possibly two's, worth of headlines and attention discussing. And if you're breaking it down, being like, well, is it the right, how is it over 30 degrees, because that's what constitutes, what is
Getting the protractor right.
How far away from his body is it, like, what was the intention?
Didn't show Kyle, so it's not an
so it's
salute.
not,
it's a Roman salute.
That is what he wants, and he understands, and Trump specifically understood this in a way that the Democrats didn't, where their media strategy was so withdrawn, was limited interviews. It's almost like they didn't want to be in the news, the Democrats, whereas Trump understands perfectly that the more you are in the news, the more attention you have. That is political capital. That is modern political capital.
I don't think it's pitched at the news media, though. I think it's pitched at his, like, he only really cares about the opinions of, like, people with, like, Pepe the Frog accounts on Twitter. I think it's like a nod. It's a nod to them. I actually don't think he really is. He didn't want to, like, trigger the New York Times. He wanted, it's a wink and the nod to the people who are like describing themselves as like groypers.
But can
or
it not
whatever.
be both? I think it might be both.
I think it could be, but I think it's much more one than the other.
I also like the idea that it's like surreptitious. It's like a nudge. It's like wink, 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 nudge, nudge.
This is
like,
actually really subtle.
This will get him, and he's just full on like throwing it out there. It's not. At the inauguration, the 47th president of the United States were like, the world is watching.
Behind the president's podium.
Very subtle. Very subtle, Elon. He's
Have you heard about this guy?
a master
This
of
is a deep
nuance.
cut. He's called Adolf Hitler. He was a painter.
Elon Musk, a master of the unsaid. Yeah.
I wonder, it's just very interesting, isn't it, that the people who have been really concerned about free speech, allegedly, for the past like 5 or 6 years or whatever, have been telling you that it's all about pronouns. And then someone goes and does a Nazi salute on TV, and it's like,
Fine.
whoa, 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 whoa. And the most bizarre point about all of this is that it obviously shows you there is a limit to free speech, because people have been outraged by it, right? There obviously is a bar. What is he trying to prove? That the bar is limitless, that you can do absolutely anything?
I think he does, because he's still going to be the head of whatever is the Doge department.
There's a court case about that. Have you seen that? It was launched yesterday.
What was
Filed
it?
yesterday. So there was a court case handed over that was seen by the Washington Post that was, they think that Doge actually infringes on American civil liberties.
Oh, really?
So it may not even be allowed to go ahead.
But then,
Lawfare
but then
because it's all about,
does
you
this-
need to have transparency, and Elon's like, not going to tell you what we're doing.
Does this
We're just going to get rid of crap.
Does this disprove the existence of cancel culture? If you're doing a Nazi salute in front of the world stage and you still get to be the head of a government department?
Well, I think you look at like the gains of the progressive movement in America, of woke. What did it achieve? Did it achieve material change or material gains for minorities, be that in gender, in race, or whatever? Probably relatively limited, really. I mean, it's like, people lost their jobs because they said words that certain people don't like. And actually liberals and Democrats tied themselves in knots, creating them almost this ripe electoral formula to make themselves as unappealing to the electorate as possible by being like, no, you've called someone, instead of calling someone a First Nationer or, whatever sort of, policing the language in that way, they alienated vast parts of the electorate. And then you get your man Trump in the White House and signing one of his first executive orders to be like, 2 genders, don't care about it. And it's like, the backlash to woke ideas, be that around free speech, be it around politics, has culminated in someone very closely associated with the Trump regime doing a Nazi salute at the inauguration speech, and with executive power passing legislation that almost certainly has very serious consequences for trans people in America. And it's almost like you tied yourselves in knots and fixated so much on discourse and what was happening on social media that the response from the right has essentially been, as soon as we're going to get in power, we are going to shut this shit down,
So you're arguing that the Democrats wound up the Republicans so much that now trans people aren't allowed to exist. Is that what your argument is?
It's more that
This is getting near what Ed said over Christmas.
Stupid gay people wanted rights.
no,
No, Musk is-
no. That's
got
not what
his
I'm
jackboots
saying.
on.
I will never say that. No, what I'm saying is that it's interesting to me / revealing that the kind of, when progressives were in power, i.e. for the last 4 years, and you look at the material differences, and it's like first day Trump comes in, and in response to woke ideas about gender identity, about I wouldn't even say it's a woke idea, about like keeping immigrant families together and not separating and things like this, and just straight away he is using power in a material way to have like very serious real world consequences for all of those people. The power of the backlash to that sort of left wing position, I find it quite striking and quite remarkable.
Well, can I play you a clip on that?
I would love you to play me a clip on that, Ava Santino.
There's actually 2. We'll come so. On your point, we should definitely listen to what he had to say about gender yesterday. Here he is.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
And then another point I wanted to raise was, while we're talking about this Nazi salute, did Elon do it, did he not do it? In the same vein, at the inauguration, Trump was talking about releasing the January 6th insurrection prisoners, and he was referring to them as the hostages.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Full pardon or commutation?
Full pardon.
He was referring to them as the hostages. This is 2 days after the actual hostages have been released.
They're gone, the political prisoners.
I mean,
Excuse me. The prisoners.
I just find that absolutely astounding that on the first day of the new president's administration, you've got one of his advisors, key people doing a Nazi salute, and you've got Donald Trump talking about hostages who were like legally imprisoned people for doing illegal things.
Insurrectionists,
It's the contrast between what Biden was issuing preemptive pardons for his family, for people who've done nothing wrong, and then they release all the criminals in the afternoon.
Yeah, the pardons for people involved in January 6th cut both ways, didn't they? Trump's pardoned people convicted, and Biden was preemptively pardoning the people on the committee, right? Fearing legal reprisal, and also members of his own family, in anticipation of legal prosecution. It's crazy. It's the sort of the naked power of the office of the president is almost drawn tighter into focus at moments like this, at the transition of power, where Biden is, despite. And I've made this point before, claiming about the holiness of institutions and how, we have to respect American democracy. And it's like, no, last day, full pardon, all my family, doesn't matter. I'm not saying they've done anything illegal, but, on the eventuality that they have, they're fine. You can call it nepotism if you want. I mean, it is naked nepotism. So deal with it, guys. Trump comes in saying...
I think that we've got to be careful with that word, because we can't apply nepotism to like someone whose parent happened to work in journalism 40 years ago and then also use it to, oh, by the way, my son's exonerated for, smoking crack his entire life.
Can I be fair to Joe Biden?
I wasn't talking about Joe Biden there. I was talking about my son.
Well, you would, but as in like, there is a chance that as revenge, whatever, Trump would go after his brother.
Of course there is.
Like, there's no suggestion Biden's brother's ever done anything wrong, and you're not dealing with a rational person who's inheriting all this power. So yeah, I think you might set up some protection for your family.
I don't know what you're talking about. What's not rational about Elon Musk, who tweets incessantly about the AfD and then gets up onto a podium and does a Nazi salute? What's
do you think
free him?
He did like a tour of the Eagle's Nest. It was like, hang on, what's going on over here, pals?
I think I am still sceptical about how black-pilled Elon Musk is.
Oh, he's black-pilled.
I don't.
Certainly red-pilled.
I don't know what the distinction is there.
Red pilling is, MAGA. You've seen the light and you've realised, all your classmates were just silly little woke girls, and you are now your full-blooded red meat conservatism, maybe not even just like full-on populism. You're on the Trump train now, right? That's taking the red pill. Chew fucking chew. Black pill is incel, possibly going to shoot up a school.
Okay.
And it's...
I don't think there's a situation it's going to become a school shooter.
No, but it's used ironically within sort of parts of the online right to describe people that have kind of seen the light or seen the truth. So you're not, if you're talking about, if you're saying it literally, you might be saying, okay, Elon Musk has drunk the Kool-Aid and is going to become a school shooter. But really what you're saying is he is like a truth giver. He is he is at the extreme of the political spectrum to which we sort of idolize him. Is kind of what you're implying or saying when you use that word. But my point was, that I am skeptical about how sincerely he holds any of these political positions, and I do think it is about naked power. I think it is about the richest man in the world cozying up to the most powerful man in the world, owning a key part of the attention infrastructure X, and that is why you are seeing Zuckerberg going on his right-wing character arc. That is why you are seeing Bezos there. That is why you're seeing Sam Altman there. All of these incredibly powerful people within corporate America and within the tech sector lining up alongside Trump. I think it is it's a very dangerous moment for American democracy, because all they are interested in is self-preservation. All they are interested in is enriching themselves.
How is that? Okay, but because they're unelected, that's why it's dangerous. Because that's the same with a lot of politicians, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, so obviously, okay. So what is an oligarchy, right? You're talking about a select group of people who control the instruments of power, the media, and the economy, and each of those companies, Amazon, Meta, not OpenAI yet, but it's certainly trending in that direction. Google,
X.
X, maybe not X again in this but each of those companies, they have a market cap bigger than the GDP of most nations.
Yeah.
So they have immense economic power. In the case, and particularly in Amazon, I mean, the way Amazon conducts itself, there's a really good book by Dana Mattioli called The Everything War. And the way that Amazon has sort of bullied its way across whole sectors, whether it's destroying sort of bricks and mortar retail businesses, whether it's distribution and logistics, it's far-reaching in the way that it sits. It's certainly a monopoly in the American sort of commerce and retail sector, but they also control communication and the media. When you look at Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Bezos literally owns the Washington Post. They have leverage and power over the way that we communicate, and now that combination of those things with executive power in Donald Trump. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that full send it is now America is now an oligarchy and not a democracy, because we have just witnessed the peaceful transferal of power. But if you're looking at pardons for people that marched on the Capitol and were looking for Nancy Pelosi, I mean, it was not a joke. When I think we can kind of talk about it lightly. I've sat next to Paul Pelosi at dinner, who was attacked by one of these MAGA guys and repeatedly hit in the head with a hammer. Yep. And it's like, you're looking at the guy, and obviously he's old, so you're not gonna. It might not just be because he's been attacked by a hammer that he's like a little hard of hearing and a little slow. He was funny, he's interesting, but you're sort of sitting there being like, this has real world consequences. Absolutely. Like there are people that died at the Capitol. This man has been hit in the head with a hammer because he's married to Nancy Pelosi, and I just, we're not there yet, but the direction of travel has to alarm you. You have to look at it and go, this is a step towards oligarchy if we are not in it.
But then you saw the blatant corruption even over the weekend, where they released a meme coin. Like Melania's got a meme coin, Donald released a meme coin. There was a reverend who spoke at the inauguration yesterday who's released a meme coin.
I don't think that's corruption. I don't think that's quite what he's talking about.
I think it's blatant corruption.
No, I think that's
the peak price of that meme coin was over the weekend. They enriched themselves. I think there was the Melania coin was worth billions of dollars.
Yeah, but I don't think that's oligarchy. I think that's just like cheating people for a quick. I think it's different to what he's talking about, which is like, if you control the means of communication, then you actually limit people, right? It's a choice for someone to go and buy that meme coin, right? It's not great that they have a platform and they're able to promote it, but it's entirely different from someone who owns Amazon and Meta or even X, who actually control your ability to engage in the conversation in America.
I don't think, I think it's part and parcel of the same thing. I don't think it's that different, because you're utilizing X now promotes. X is now a platform used by people who engage in far-right discourse, crypto analysis, whatever, and you are promoting these coins. It's now like, there's that, I don't know what they call it, but it's like, instead of a hashtag, it's like the $sign. You can click and look at the progress of cryptocurrency on X or Twitter or whatever, and they're using that platform to promote a useless. What is meme coin ultimately? It's a bit of digital coding that is useless, and you're using your platform sell crap. To sell crap,
and orchestrate a rug pull,
it's the most. I think it's oligarchy. It's the most simple execution.
Well, I think it gives you a flavour, right? If they're prepared to as nakedly and simply rob people in that way, you then go, right, what the hell are they going to do with the powers that come with the Oval Office? Is a way of interpreting that.
Use the occasion of the inaugural weekend to make millions, if not billions, of dollars.
I think there's a broader concern as well about crypto and the likely way in which Trump will. Well, you can't say deregulate because there isn't really any regulation in the crypto space already. But let's say resist the tendency to regulate the crypto space. That very quickly, there was a good piece in the Atlantic about this, where you could sort of see financial contagion within the financial sector, where if there are, because crypto is less well regulated, you see financial institutions sort of transitioning their internal algorithms and API trading to, for example, using the blockchain, and then something deeper and worse happens within the crypto space, that you get towards a kind of financial crisis. It is not without risk for the Trump administration to court crypto and to play with crypto in this way. Like there are downsides to it. It's not all. It's not a path that is necessarily littered with them just enriching themselves and getting out scot-free. Like there could be much wider financial ramifications for the financial sector in America, and indeed, because if the American economy goes through a recession, obviously there are then global implications for it as well. Yeah, I'm struck by the comparison between what we're watching happen in America, and I think it is a step towards oligarchy. You look at Trump's, Musk rather's government contracts that are as varied from Tesla to SpaceX, etc. You look at how Bezos, when he set up Amazon, like the origin story of Amazon is tax avoidance, right? Like, why does he set it up in Seattle? He sets it up in Seattle because American consumers buying things from Seattle that live in other states don't have to pay sales tax on those items. So there's like a competitive advantage for Amazon there. He also, when he was considering where to headquarter Amazon, he was looking for that tax loophole, but he was also looking for states with a small population, Washington being one of them, because it's a relatively small number of people that have to then pay the sales tax in Seattle when they buy off Amazon. Amazon comes from tax avoidance. Okay, so if we understand that, what is he doing hanging out with the Trump administration? Do you know what I mean? It's like I feel at times you can almost overanalyze it, where you're like, well, what's behind Bezos's pivot to the right, or Zuckerberg's like transition to being like a soft MAGA guy? And I don't think they believe the politics. I think it is just about power. It is about lobbying. It is about their own commercial interests.
Like the TikTok
well, particularly if you look at the IMF as well, and they're predicting all of these tax cuts that Trump is about to implement. Yeah, if you're a man who doesn't like paying tax, that's probably why you want to cozy up to him, right? The IMF's reading, by the way, of the US economy was really great. It was like someone who'd really phoned it in. It was like, yeah, they were like, economy quite strong. He's inheriting an economy that's enviable by the rest of the G7 partners or whatever. We think that tax cuts and deregulation is going to kickstart the economy, but also we think that tax cuts and deregulation could, really finish the economy. So you could be in this boom and bust cycle. We don't quite want to call it boom and bust, but something's going to happen. That's so we're going to have to just wait and see.
Let's see what happens. Yeah,
it was like I was like, that's really like quite phoning it in, that, isn't it?
Yeah, big time. I wonder as well. Can we just pause and zoom out for a moment? I feel like we've gone deep. We're providing the political analysis, but the inauguration speech, like typically that's a moment where you're outgoing and incoming. It's like, yes, I beat you fair and square, but at the end of the day, don't we all love America? And it's
a city on a hill.
Yeah, yada yada yada. And instead, Trump both times now. First time round, it's like American carnage. This time round, he's like cussing them out.
Yeah.
He's cussing out Biden. He's cussing out Harris.
Liars.
Yeah. It like
Pelosi.
Yeah, that there is, and interestingly, actually, when you think about it, he said something like, "There's an elite, an establishment that has enriched themselves at the expense of the American people."
And it was a great idea.
Yeah, and you turn around and
yes, no, exactly. and it's like you could put those words in a left-wing populist mouth.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And they'd be talking about the people that are sat behind Trump.
It's sort of unfair to Bernie Sanders, isn't it? Because he was actually tweeting yesterday because he was on what's that YouTuber called? Oh, Twitch guy, Hassan. Yeah, he was on his, and he was like going on and on about oligarchy or whatever. I don't really quite think Hassan understood. I don't know if you watched it. He wasn't a particularly good interviewer. I think he's a better interviewee than interviewer, because he was literally like, Mr. Sanders, do you reading the questions of things. But anyway, the point was, Bernie yesterday was tweeting like, this is what I was talking about with the oligarchy. And everyone was like, all right. Like,
it's insane that the Democrats' entire strategy was like, this is like democracy is at risk. Like this is an existential threat to American democracy. Oh, fair's fair. You won. Welcome home, Mr. President. He's super old, sorry, as well. Just like, he's now the oldest inaugurated president.
Yeah, and so by the end of his term, he'll be older than Biden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, can I say something so pedantic about that?
I'd love you to. I like it when you're petty.
We are living longer now. And so, like, whenever anyone compares age or whatever, when they're like, so-and-so's older than Winston Churchill, it's like, well, I should hope so. And also, like, these days people don't, like, drink whiskey at 10 in the morning and smoke a cigar as soon as they wake up.
But he just eats McDonald's and drinks chemicals. Yeah. Like, it's not. I don't think it's better.
But those chemicals
like,
keep
you're not
him
looking
alive.
at Donald Trump. If Donald Trump was like ripped, you'd be like, oh, sick. This doesn't matter. But he's not. He's not a healthy man.
And there was something so unbelievably crass at the lunch yesterday. Oh, do you know what? I'm gonna say it. All right, no one else will. I just thought it was unbelievably crass when everyone else was toasting champagne and he had a glass of Diet Coke. Like, it's fine if you don't want to drink, but have something.
Apple juice.
No Secco.
Have something. Have no Secco in a little glass, because it's just like, what are you holding up that Diet Coke for?
Yeah.
One of the funniest clips of the election was when Theo Von was telling him about cocaine.
Yes.
And he was just like, do you get is the high different from alcohol? And he's, what's Theo Von's like, turns you into an owl, man.
Yeah, he's like, it makes you feel like an owl. Yeah. Look, that interview where Trump's talking about his brother's alcoholism is, I think, one of the most revealing.
So very human.
Very, very humanized him in an enormous way, and again demonstrates the gap in the Democrats' media strategy and something that the Republicans understood deeply, and Barron Trump understood, and Donald Trump understood, which is like, it is far more. Son. It is. I saw an unbelievable AI edit of Barron Trump walking behind Donald and Melania. Did you see it?
So
he was like 18 foot tall.
Yeah.
So when Mario takes the big mushroom.
Did you see the thing as well that was like, he looked really sad standing like next to Elon when he was being inaugurated, and it was like, you just know some NYU like little like what they call it, manic pixie girl is ruining his life. He just looked so forlorn. Yeah,
Elon was like manically clapping, wasn't he? Like
showing
doing his goofy
him memes like an uncle.
Yeah.
Because he looks sort of youngish. In my head, he's like kind of almost, he doesn't really have like an age or whatever. And when someone like
Barron.
No, Elon.
Oh.
And when someone quote tweeted him yesterday being like, this man's in his 50s and he's doing all the like, yeah, what? I was like, Jesus, I forgot
Jumping.
that you were
Emoting.
like...
Do you know what there has been? Some white South African slander. People are saying, you've written actually on this note, Elon being very South African about everything, which I assume is the salute.
It is a salute, yeah.
It is the salute. Do you know what white South Africans did? Have you not seen Searching for Sugar Man? They preserved the legacy of Rodriguez and his music. Liberal white South Africans, they had 3 albums, the White Album by
Is
the
that
Beatles.
the song that's like, Sugar Man?
Yeah, have you seen the
Okay.
documentary?
Yes.
Stop watching this, go and watch Searching for Sugar Man, and you see what I did.
It's a novel take, Fred. Stop watching our programming. Go and watch this other fantastic bit of
Not
cinema.
all white South Africans are bad.
Yeah, no, obviously that's
No,
true.
not all of them are bad, but then that's, there was some questions, wasn't there, after apartheid, like, well...
Sorry, Afrikaner is bad, obviously. It's actually distinct.
So what fascinates me about the American right is that they can't seem to speak in concentric circles or like understand complex structures. They can only identify like key buzzwords and then they hang on to them for dear life. Like if you look at someone like Marjorie Greene Taylor, she literally, the words out of her mouth repeatedly over and over again with maybe a couple of synonyms here and there are like DEI, immigration, genders. Like she's just rolling on it all the time. And it was almost like, do you know when I was on Piers Morgan the other week and there was this girl who was like, she does the Steve Bannon's War Chest, that podcast. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the Southport. We were not talking about Southport. We were talking about the grooming gangs. Mm-hmm. and she was talking about Elon Musk or whatever. The way that she was talking about Muslims, she wasn't making any sense. She just basically looked down the camera. The eyes were dead. She was dead behind the eyes. And she just said phrases over and over and over and over again, and none of it actually made any sense.
It is quite strange being in the same room as people of this politics, or being in conversation with them. Because you saying that made me think of being on Newsnight the other day with Alex Phillips, when we were talking about like prison reform and like, you know, how should we improve justice in the UK? And unprompted, no mention, it's just like, there are too many Albanians in prison. They are overrepresented in our prison system, and we have to get the Albanians out of the country. And you're sat there being like, we haven't mentioned like immigration, it's like, should we have longer sentences? Should we have short sentences? You know, is the type of prison that we have, maybe we should have like, you know, lower security prison systems, etc. Should we release some people in blah, 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 and it's just no, straight in Albanian, and it's weird being like, I suppose it could be a product of a bubble, but most people take that back. I know people that hold that same politics, right? But when you are in conversation with them, they do not unprompted just go. They don't just jump to it. But
No.
when people who are political and have those views, it is so strange to be in their vicinity when they start talking about it. Because as Ava said, it's just like autopilot, right? Immigration, Muslims.
But then they
with
know,
an O.
but then it's content, isn't it?
Yeah.
They know the vast majority of people who see this
Yeah.
clip aren't going to watch the full program.
Yeah.
But a clip of Alex Phillips saying there are too many Albanians in prison, the clip of this person saying like, don't know, something insane about Muslims. That's like, that clip goes super, super, super viral, and the actual context doesn't matter.
Diluting the argument like that makes them think they've won it.
Yeah,
Like it's
or it's just a different purpose almost.
because in any other normal conversation, we could say anything right now. You could literally open your mouth and I go, and do you know what? You wanted him to do that Hitler signal
The signal
or whatever.
the bat signal, the
bat sign.
the Nazi bat sign.
And then I could be like, and then you'd be so stunned into silence. Then I could be like, schooled him.
That's what
Schooled him.
Jake Wallace-Simons did to you. That was so funny. And you remember he was like the liberal left stunned into silence at like common sense or whatever, and Ollie replied saying, "I was stunned by your total stupidity" or something like that.
Yeah.
The stupidity of what you said. It was a very carefully, beautifully worded tweet, I thought. Actually.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Based Dugmore.
Yeah, no, he had said, in an interview with me, he said the further left wing you are, the more closely you are allied to jihadists, and which obviously I was sort of looking at it, processing what he'd said, and was like, do you genuinely think that? And he was like, yes.
So the end of one end of the political spectrum, you have Islam, and over here you have fascism. Everyone knows that.
Oh, dearie me.
Some of the things that it was actually very difficult to even understand what she was saying, because none of it's sort of like she wasn't speaking, this MAGA girl wasn't speaking in normal sentence structure. She just was shouting buzzwords. And that is really what it's like listening to an interview from Marjorie Green Taylor. Should we listen to one?
Yeah.
Here she is.
There's no unity. No, absolutely not. No, these people would line us up in front of a firing squad and kill us if they could. We know exactly who the Democrats are. Their mask is off. Joe Biden pardoned his entire family. He pardoned General Milley. He pardoned Anthony Fauci. He pardoned the J6 committee members, and he pardoned Capitol Police officers that turned against everyone. And so this is not unity. Let me spell this out really clear. Democrats, until you start writing big checks to Republicans and you start voting Republican, and Democrats here in Congress, when they vote for President Trump's agenda, then we can start talking about unity. But until then, there is no unity. There's President Trump's agenda, the MAGA agenda, and we have to get to work and deliver the mandate that the American people voted for.
So that's Marjorie Green Taylor.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, sorry. Sorry. I actually think it flows the other way around. So Marjorie,
Sorry,
maybe
she in this house she is MGT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like again, what you're talking about being unprompted. She just unprompted is like, the Democrats want to shoot us in the face. And it's like, what are you talking about? What?
Just the tenor of the discourse is just like it's so urgent. Everything is urgent and a threat and needs to be actioned now. And the Democrats are coming and they're making your kids trans, and they're going to put an immigrant family into your house, and I'm the only one who's going to sort it out.
Did you see Caitlyn Jenner was praising Donald Trump yesterday for his views on gender?
Really?
I thought that was rather powerful because had she gone to prison for that car accident,
So
which prison would she be in under Trump's
Caitlyn Jenner
administration?
is just old, I guess.
So when the whole like there are now only two genders thing.
Yeah.
Can trans people not be like, and yes, I am a woman?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Is that not available to them? I know it's kind of like we're already in quite a philosophical
It's not. This
territory.
isn't a trans thing. It's a non-binary thing.
Right.
I think that's what
you cannot be.
they them.
Yeah.
You,
Right.
you
got
can't because Biden introduced the
It's going to make
ability
it
to have
very
X
difficult
on
when
your
you're like talking about
gender.
a group of people now, isn't it? Like, what are we going to do if you can't be they them? He and he.
So he, she, he, and
Yeah.
they. We're all there.
There is substance as well, isn't there? So I mean, there's substance to that because obviously you're talking about like what type of sort of certification can trans or non-binary people have to identify their gender? What does it mean for single-sex spaces? There's also other very substantive stuff here, right? Pulling out the Paris Agreement, the national emergency at the border.
Sadiq Khan was furious about that yesterday, let me tell you. But do you know who wasn't furious about it?
Oh, we get.
David Lammy.
How
Mr.
times have
President!
changed.
Mr. President!
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Lammy was very forthright about Trump, wasn't he? And now he's the foreign secretary. He kind of
Shit.
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 Yeah,
shit.
but
They
obviously
get on very
Sadiq-
well now, don't they?
Yeah, well, I'd forgotten that this tees us up for Trump versus Sadiq part 2.
So do you know Sadiq loves coming to PoliticsJOE and talking about Donald Trump?
He does actually. I've interviewed Sadiq. I've interviewed Sadiq a lot about Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure you've done something. I did Sadiq reading Donald Trump's mean tweets
Did you?
4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was
Yeah.
there for that.
I normally talk to him about you, Les, because that's what I care about.
But it's
Tell me more, shut more of the roads. I just love it. I love it so much. I love it so much.
You're one of the ULEZ. No, the tire slashers. That's what you're. What are they
I'm,
called?
I'm putting up
Blade
more,
runners.
I'm
No,
putting up-
not the US Blade
I'm
runners.
putting up more cameras.
You've got a private company that does ULEZ. Who are the people who attack 4x4s? What are
Can
they
you
called?
not say that I have a private company doing ULEZ? Because I categorically don't. And someone like that Charlotte woman on Twitter, who is so, she will literally now, she'll clip it and she'll be like, I knew it.
I will just say it now. Like, I don't think we should accommodate the stupid. Like, I think like there
Let's
are
throw
times,
this podcast out there.
Yeah,
What's the bloody
look,
point?
when we say that you support reform, and like obviously it's just you are.
They're going to have a field day today when they see who I'm on the BBC with later, aren't they?
Who?
Reform's former head of comms.
Very good.
Oh, did I not tell you?
No.
It's Gawain
Gawain,
Towler.
very good. Very good.
Sorry, you're a friend from work.
Yes, yeah, my former colleague and dear friend Gawain. But like you're an objective. You're a journalist. I would say that anyone who pays the slightest bit of attention to PoliticsJOE's political output knows that it is not on the right of British politics, and yet there are people who genuinely believe you to be a reform shill. In the same way that there are people who still believe that you're Alistair Campbell's son.
Yeah.
And it's like. Get a grip. I just don't think we should bend to people that are dim.
No, that's very true.
Do you know what I mean?
I found
it's
that
just
clip
like,
the other
look,
day.
fuck those. I don't care what those people think.
Yeah.
They're stupid.
That Alistair
Yeah.
Campbell clip is very funny.
Which one?
The one of me saying I'm his son. I found it
yeah.
the other day, and it was great. And I found the original Love podcast, Hate Nonsense, from you.
Yeah,
That was great.
So yeah, national energy emergency, drill baby drill, Paris climate, pulling out of that, national emergency at the border. Like, there is
Tariffs.
substantive.
He's
there
going
is-
to drill baby drill as well as, yeah. Did you say that already?
Well, I did, but you can reiterate
Sorry.
it. By all means.
He actually
By
said
all
drill,
means.
baby, drill.
Drill.
No, I was doing the as if I also didn't hear.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Got it, right.
That's good. What did he say?
I think he said drill baby drill.
What's a drill?
I am. I'm a big fan of that Florida rep who said "Daddy's back" yesterday.
Yeah, you liked that, didn't you?
Big fan of that. Also, notable mention to Kid Rock, who did an interview with the
That was
BBC yesterday,
insane.
in which he said to the reporter, "I can't see you, but you sound sexy."
Want to go skiing with me?
Just absolutely insane.
But this is kind of what I'm talking about. In America, they've called it the vibe shift. Here, it's I think it strikes a comparison to Starmer and the announcement of the inquiry this morning. It's like the old politics versus the new politics, where in America, Trump has understood this perfectly. Politics is not actually really about delivery. It's about emotion and it's about attention and being able to tell
Yeah.
a compelling story about, American decline is again what he spoke about in the inauguration. If you can tell that narrative and you can partner it with everybody's eyeballs, that is political dynamite, and it doesn't matter really about whether or not this is such an insane thing. It doesn't matter whether Elon Musk has done a Nazi salute at your inauguration. It's like, do you command the attention, the emotion, and the support of enough people to win an election?
Do you command it, sir?
I think he does command it, and I don't think Starmer does. And this inquiry around Southport demonstrates that gap. Now, I will obviously never I'm not saying we need to change the rules around contempt of court. I'm not saying we need to change the rules around reporting of information in relation to what happened in Southport. But Paul Brand asked a question at the end of the press conference today, which I think was very pertinent. And he said to Starmer, before Axel Radicalization was charged, there was a window of time where you could have released information about what had happened and why, because you wouldn't be prejudicing a trial, and you didn't. Why didn't you do it? And I think, well, first of all, I don't think Trump would have the reverence for like the judicial process to withhold remarking upon it once he's been charged. But there is no world in which that happens and he isn't immediately tweeting on Truth Social, taking to the airwaves, talking about what has happened.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he would be doing it for very different purposes. And I do, by the way, think there is merit, and I think we'll possibly talk about this, to what the change that Starmer is announcing. But I think it is such a neat demonstration of the new winning politics and the old, which is racist riots happened because of misinformation on social media 6 months ago, and now Starmer is immediately sort of giving this presser and saying, you know, what happened was terrible and it made me so angry, and now here I am trying to do something about it. So we'll have a public inquiry, which, you know, its findings will report in 3 years, and yada yada. It's like, that's not how politics operates anymore.
But how does a politician with respect for the law and respect for institutions win in this world? It actually kind of struck me of like Biden and Biden's reverence for institutions. Starmer says he didn't reveal all this information about Republicana because of respect for law and the duty and like the process of law and the legal process. Whereas you had Farage tweeting a video of like fanning
questions.
flames.
Yeah.
And so how can someone with respect for these due processes, how can they win?
But I guess this is what I'm saying, because what Farage did not collapse the trial. It wasn't contempt of court. And he understands the new politics, right? Like, I'm not saying
people.
I'm not saying,
yeah.
And I want to be absolutely clear. I'm not supporting what he did. I'm saying for his political purposes, he understands very specifically where the line of what he can say is and how close he can get to it. And he did that. Starmer did not. And that is kind of what I'm talking about here is, as effective political operators, it's the merit of what Starmer has announced today is good. It is correct. Terrorism is changing. Like Prevent is some of the stuff in Prevent is insane. Like it literally talks about emirs, like these sort of senior Muslim figures that typically would have been, you know, an imam or someone who radicalizes someone young, and you intervene. It's like terrorism now is different. Right?
We're moving like the working man's clubs are still open. Like, yeah.
It's the early 2000s, and the way that people now get radicalized happens quite often alone.
Yeah,
we want to talk about
totally
being black-pilled,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It changes. There's a really good, I read a really good novel last year called England is Mine by Nicholas Padamsey, and he talks about, it's a story of like a guy who gets radicalized basically like the extreme right. That is a really neat illustration and profile of people like Axel, right? Which is like, he is alone, people knew he had a fixation with violence, but because he wasn't like an Islamist extremist, the architecture set up to deal with this couldn't process the fact that he was actually an incredibly dangerous young man. So that does need to change. I'm not saying that that's incorrect. I think it's good that Starmer is making those changes. I think it's very important that those changes get made. I'm saying that the mechanism by which he is doing it demonstrates the difference, and possibly, unless he changes course, the reason why someone like Farage poses a very serious political threat to him come the next election.
I think it's like moving analog. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
There's sort of like a moment of reflection of like how much process do you... I guess this is sort of like all of Starmer's government that we've been talking about. Like a lot of it is just following old processes that don't quite meet the criteria of what's needed in a digital age, right? It's like, it's almost like the waking up in the morning to go and do like announce a bit of policy that goes into the broadcast round, that I would say 97% of the population never finds out about.
Yeah.
Like the Southport announcement, it's like, when we talk about social strategy, it's not necessarily like can the Labour Party get clicks online? It's like, how can you actually disseminate this information? How many people this morning know what Starmer said? How many of them like actually will appreciate the nuance of like, I've actually lost my train of thought. You go.
But then I think as well, people will be finding out from people that he doesn't want to convey the information. So it will be like, actually, I've not looked at Twitter, but it will be someone like Nigel Farage saying, an inquiry has been announced, and also here's my spin on this messaging as well. But I think you have to say something as well about, like, we talk about the right's like operation or command of like the new digital age and the new digital media, but it's irresponsible. As what Farage did on Southport riots was totally irresponsible and contemptible. It's how he's not playing. It's not just he's better at the means of communication. What he's doing, what he did there, was bad and shouldn't have been done.
Yeah. We'll be back tomorrow with PMQs and probably some more breakdown from Starmer's announcement today. But otherwise, we will see you on the flip side. Thank you for listening.